Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily podcast. Big question for everyone listening. Have you ever felt like dabbling in crypto and learning how it all works without losing any real cash? Well, I've recently been playing around with Coinfantasy, which is a platform that gamifies the experience of investing in crypto stocks, allowing users to earn money while playing the game. But the platform is decentralized and offers a no-loss gain, giving investors the opportunity to participate in primary markets without the risk of financial losses. Now, users play different games and level up. Eventually, they would be able to experience different aspects of the DeFi in a gamified manner. And learning about this, combined with the fact that the global gaming market is expected to reach a value of $300 billion by 2026, registering a CAGR of 9.64% over 2021 to 2026, blockchain technology is bringing a significant change to the gaming industry. So I've invited Harishkarthik on the podcast today to share his thoughts around the key innovations at Coinfantasy that we can expect, how Coinfantasy is different from other play-to-earn model games, and how gaming can transform the financial sector, and much more. But enough from me. Buckle up and hold on tight, because it's time for me to beam your ears all the way to Dubai, where he's waiting to share his story. So a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell the listeners a little about who you are and what you do?
Hey, pleasure to be here. Hi, nice to meet you, Neil. Yeah, a quick intro about myself. I kind of started as a communication or automation engineer. Got some hands-on experience on developing software. I worked for 4 years as a software developer. I worked across like different continents. I would say I worked in Gulf, I worked in US, I worked in Europe, and then I moved to US to do my masters. I did my master's in University of Illinois, Urbana-Champaign. Fortunate to get admitted to a top engineering school over there. So that's how my journey with blockchain started, because on doing my master, I took up some courses in blockchain. I started building D-apps, So I was working on a couple of decentralized applications before venturing into Coinfantasy. Currently, I was working as an engineering manager. I was leading a team of engineers. So that's when my journey started, and been there for a few years in US, and now kind of settling between US and Dubai. Yeah.
Wow, there's so much to unpack there, because it seems that you've lived, studied and worked all over the world. And obviously you're now in Dubai, but I'd love to take you back in time. Can you share your origin story, maybe a moment where your passion for tech came from, or just something that would put you on this path and take you around the world, and how your experiences and blockchain would collide for you?
Yeah, I think I was more like a very curious youngster. When I was young, you get to learn about new technology, and I always believed, software, or I believe in this world, everybody has to get some hands-on experience in some way or other, kind of coding and software, right? So that's how it started. Got some hands-on experience in my undergrad. I was always interested in developing projects. It was mostly on the tech side, and I was working. After my college, I was working, and I was also working on new technologies, as part of the industry 4.0 as well. So that was kind of different domain. And then when I moved to US is when I think that's when the Web3 was booming. Me and my the other co-founder is my brother. We used to talk about a lot of problems in the crypto space. He's been in the space from 2014, 2015. He used to tell a lot of stories about how people made big, with starting off small. I think that's the beauty of early technologies. It creates a lot of millionaires, right? So yeah. I know a lot of people who started off as normal people, and now they made it big, being adopting this early technology. And how initially the economic incentive kind of pulled me in, in a way, I was okay, this is kind of the next next internet, right? So we want to be part of it early. So that's how I got in. But when I started building this D-apps, and I really felt that this technology could make a difference. It's how internet was there, where people connected people this could be like a layer on top of internet where like people are incentivized to be a good actor on the platform. Now that's kind of used because like Facebook, there's so much of users, but there's a lot of spams and like like there's no incentive for users to be a good actor, right? I think that's where I feel Web3 could make a big difference, and blockchain as a whole technology itself is something that will make kind of an impact in various sectors, right? Not just finance. And especially with blockchain being part of finance itself, because internet was not part of anything financial, right? Could be just websites and connecting people, but here it's part of being a currency, like so that's kind of the beauty of it. So that's why this tokenization of so the tokenization of everything kind of presents an interesting possibilities. Yep.
And of course, that path would eventually lead you to Coinfantasy, which is the world's first decentralized invest gaming platform. But for people outside of this space, can you just tell me about the story behind the company and the problems that you set out to solve with this technology?
Yep. So we started off, in 2021, when I was in US, a lot of people were just, purchasing, primary assets without understanding their purchasing, like assets, right? For example, I have my friends, they got the stimulus money. They are like, just putting it on Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, like, and they don't understand like the market goes in cycle, right? They believe like, okay, it's going to go on forever, right? That's when this GameStop issue like thing was happening too. And my brother were discussing like, hey, like why there is no kind of, gamification solution, in crypto, like something like, DraftKings or FanDuel, where, people kind of just, they want to compete, but they don't want to buy the asset, to compete, like, but they kind of are more like in a gamified manner, and it brings the competition among users, like, they are just taking parallel to fantasy sports, like, because we believe like that's kind of interesting, a sandbox environment in which we could put users and expose crypto to them, right? So that's how it started. Like, we want to gamify the financial markets, and in a way that users don't experience the risk of financial losses or burn their fingers, right? So that's how it started. So we have different categories of games which they kind of gamify, and and in a way like we allow users to experience the end-to-end journey of investment itself to users.
And the question I've got to ask, again, for people who are relatively new to this space or play with competitors' games, how is Coinfantasy different from, let's say, other pay-to-earn model games?
I think first thing, like, I'll probably quickly explain maybe how the game works.
Yeah,
so the
sure.
game is kind of, like users kind of play the games on different categories. Like, say, there is one category of game where hodl plays, like something like a game that's played on like top 100 or blue chip crypto tokens. And there is like, a meme payout is a game based out of, meme coins. And there is like DeFi twist is coin based on like DeFi coins. So there's like an expanding category of, games that users choose. And each game has their own set of rules, right? And say like, for example, how to play that, that's currently live on the platform. You see like users need to select a team of tokens, and like, and everybody selects a team of tokens. And like, so say you select like Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. I say like, Polygon, Avalanche, RV, and say like based on the movement of the token in the actual market. Say for example, Bitcoin goes up by 1%, you get 1 point. In a way, like whoever has the cumulative point wins the game. That's kind of the games that we have, and there is like different categories to which so it's very simple. Like you choose the category, select your portfolio to compete based on the rules, and win rewards. 3 steps. That's kind of the how you play the game. And you were asking about like how sorry, I missed the second part of the question. Like
yeah, all I was going to ask is how is it different from other play to earn model games?
Perfect. Yeah. I think this is, I'll say like, this is like a niche market called play to earn investing. In a way, like users kind of invest by playing the games. So when I say that, like, so each game has an entry fee. Like, like say they put $10. And the interesting thing is the amount that you put is staked in the platform. If you take other play to earn games, like, like you put $10, if you win, you get more money. If you lose, you get less money, or like you lose the entry fee that you put in, right? But we felt like when users kind of lose continuously, they don't come back to the platform. So that's when like, we kind of want to take like a gamify approach to it, combining gaming and DeFi. So in a way, when we allow users to pay the entry fee, the amount is staked in the platform. So in a way, like, we are kind of indirectly teaching how staking works to users as well. So when they stake, so if they win, they can withdraw the, rewards immediately and the entry fee. But if they lose, when I say lose, like if they don't come in the top ranks at the end of the game, like, the entry fee is staked in the platform. So your entry fee is locked up. So in a way, you get back after 2 days, 3 days, and that duration is kind of very dynamic based on how much tokens are locked in the platform. So in a way, like, we kind of dynamically control the supply and demand and make sure that now users are not losing. At the same time, we kind of maintain the the supply and demand of the token. So that's kind of it's a way differentiate. I think I've not seen any kind of specific play to earn platform using this kind of a gamify approach. That makes us very unique in a way. And second aspect is also like most of the platforms are inflationary. They like, so that's kind of one of the problem with the platforms like Axie Infinity. They were booming in 2021. But now when you kind of constantly mint tokens, right, it is the same case with how they've been printing dollars, and like, you reach a point where like, then the dollar does not have value, right? So that's kind of a place where like, if you keep printing tokens without having those deflationary elements, so I think that will kind of affect the play to earn as a whole. Like, so we kind of have different deflationary elements where you buy back and burn. We have like NFTs that kind of needed to use in the platform, and that is also required to buy back and burn. So in a way that you constantly maintain the supply and demand in of the tokens. I think it's a economic as a like as a whole. If you look at the token economics itself, because like similar to how RPA like or say central government in US, like they kind of print in a way to control how much is in circulation, etc. So this is how like we're trying to be different. And I think there's no other platform in this space, especially I think this invest gaming or like play to earn investing is a very kind of a new market. I'd say that's a kind of $1 billion market opportunity we see, because like you're trying to combine crypto gaming and trading, right? Because gamification of trading is something very unique, and people have tried like paper trading platforms where you don't win rewards, but here like like we are kind of incentivizing users, and there is kind of a defined a journey for users within the platform. As they play games, they level up, etc. Yep.
And I think there's a lot of people that have been listening from outside the industry that feel a little bit intimidated by the space. And for me, it feels like this would be a great introduction for them. They can learn how everything works without risking any of their own finances, and it could also increase adoption in the industry. But can you expand on how you think gaming will transform the financial sector or help transform it?
Yeah, I think if you look at one sector that's kind of booming as a whole in this world, it's kind of gaming, right? And especially with the lockdown and the COVID thing, like people have started playing games exponentially. They kind of stay at their home, and so one thing they do constantly is kind of play games, right? So I think gamification, in as such, like the gaming industry itself, big, and especially if you take the Web3 space, it's like it's currently at around $9 billion, but it's not expected to go to 38 billion in the next few years, right? That's the scale we are looking at. So if you look at it, I think gaming and every VC out there, like at least 3 out of 4 VCs, kind of looking at gaming space as such. They want to invest in gaming because like it kind of exposes users to the industry in a fun and engaging manner, right? For example, if I ask you to try out like staking, DeFi, yield walls, that's kind of like how you said, it's very intimidating, right? But instead, I'm saying like, hey, play a game. It's kind of be simple, and eventually you are kind of exposed to these elements. That's kind of how the approach will change. And I feel this game is not just like it could be like not just RPG or MMO games, right? I think it could be gaming similar to Coinfantasy. There could be like gamification of different aspects that could come in. Like I was looking at the gamification of banking. In a way, like people are saying like, hey, instead of the boring way you kind of deposit withdraw, now you can gamify, like you win rewards for depositing, like when you win rewards for withdrawing. So I saw a platform like that is very interesting. So I think gaming sector as such is growing, and And especially like in countries like India, right? It's kind of there is an app called Dream11, in India that has about 100 million users, right? That's kind of and that's kind of how much users are there in Web3, So that's the scale, we're talking about, that there's a lot of scope in Web 2 itself, and added to this Web 3 where, when users kind of play games, they win assets that could be tradable, right? I think that poses an interesting financial incentive for gamers to be very, very successful. Because I know like people you just had the social value whenever they win, right? They wanted to kind of say like, hey, I'm a level 21. I was able to succeed. They want to share that. That's just the social value. Now, in addition to it, there's an economic value that this, Web3 and NFTs bring in, where like it poses like and I think that's where like for example, if you look at Axie Infinity, people were just playing for the the financial incentive. Like for example, people were earning $50 per day, right? That is kind of more than what individual can earn in a country like a Vietnam or Indonesia. So obviously they are playing those games every day. So that's kind of like how the financial incentive could be a major factor how this industry is going to grow exponentially in a way like now maybe being a gamer could be a profession altogether, right? Now with gaming is just seen as a hobby, and it will soon be kind of a profession. And this the NFTs especially, we I believe in like it could be a present interesting possibilities in the gaming sector.
And I'm curious, from everything you're seeing in the industry right now, are there any new innovations and trends that you think we'll see in the DeFi gaming industry this year? Because there's so many big changes happening right now, isn't there?
Yep. No, I believe like this financialization of NFTs and fractionalization of NFTs kind of a big trend. When I say financialization, now I'm saying like I you are a good gamer, you've been playing good in the platform, and now like you be able to earn using it. Now I have a credit score. In Coinfantasy we do have like a profiling that we do for users in a way like we know like you played this many games, this is your win ratio, and you've been a consistently good actor. Now I can allow you to take a loan, like you can borrow some money to play more games. You can borrow some money locking up the collateral, your profile as your collateral. And that's kind of really interesting trend I feel in gaming sector and all, like where like these kind of DeFi and gamify elements are started to be within the game. Because now like you don't go to banks to borrow money. You can be a good gamer. Like borrow the money and you repay it, and now your credit score increases. Now you can borrow more money. So it's kind of so in a way like it's kind of banking as such exposed in a very fun manner. At the same time, I think it will definitely solve a lot of problems in maybe not in developed countries, but in developing countries where like like the currency is plummeting without any value. There like this could be a big innovation. So I feel this fractionalization of NFTs as well could be a big, because now I don't have money to kind of buy a board ape or a mutant ape that's kind of costing you much. I am saying like you can own like point 0.5, NFT of a board ape, so you still get to hold a share of it, but you don't have to kind of, put that much money. In a way that kind of also democratizes the process where like, a lot of people who, have not like a lot of money can still buy it, etc. So I think these two trends definitely apart from it, like maybe, yeah, I think these two major trends I see, a big shift that could happen, like because right now, I think we are in early stage in terms of just now games are figuring out the in-game economy, like in a way like how the assets are, tradable, and the biggest winners would be platforms who could make this process very simpler, right? Because there is a huge entry barrier for users entering the space now. Like they have to download a wallet, you need to play. So that's kind of that's what, when we started developing Kind Fantasy, we felt like hey, if this product needs to go to the masses, we need to make sure kind of the UI and UX is very simple to any other Web2 platform. So if you go and see in a platform, like anybody could start playing without a wallet, right? You can just sign in using your email and just start playing it, right? So those are some of the challenges. Also, like the gaming sector, will you will see like a lot of platforms kind of easing that process in a way that easy onboarding happens.
And if we look beyond 2023, what do you think the future of this GameFi space will look like? How are you seeing this space evolving?
I think so. For example, if you look at the DeFi space, right? I'm just taking parallels to like it was a sector where it was booming in 2021. It touched 220 billion. There was a huge. I was seeing the growth right from a single digit dollar, like single digit billion to 220 billion. So like I saw the space growing, and currently it's sitting about 47 billion. So I think the as money flows in, right, that's when the sector kind of is we see a big change, and like a lot of new players also enter the space. So I think especially in this gamify thing, you will see a lot of incoming what to say money flowing in. Right now is just 9 billion, and close to 700 platforms are built on the space. But it'd be at least touch, like when the DeFi saw this boom, there were close to I think 5,000 to 6,000 platforms. So you will see the growth on gamify platforms, at least 10x growth is what I'm expecting to see. And I think interesting trend would be like how like the Web2 platforms starting adapting to Web3, because now like I'm seeing around a platform like Dream11 has like 100 million users. Now I think if they start suggesting started having this Web3 elements in the game, then that could bring that like a gamify to the masses, right? Because like that's kind of how I think we can see that chasm kind of breaking in, and eventually like the space kind of exploding. However, like having said that, like there's a lot of uncertainties around legalities, how it's going to work, etc. Because right now, I think in India, like still, I think we're not seeing very favorable conditions for projects like from Web2 to kind of start using Web3 as such in the game, etc. Because still, I think the rules need to be figured out, etc. But I think that's where I think you're seeing bigger VCs coming in. I think this is the phase where like the money starts to come in, and you see bigger platforms coming in, and eventually like the users will start coming in. That's how I see the growth happening. Yep.
And I'm curious, if we look at what's happening now and we look at the future and all the big changes and how the industry is evolving, what role do you think Coinfantasy can play in influencing the financial and gaming sector?
Yeah, I think definitely one thing like I can see Coinfantasy being like even you kind of described initially when we started is kind of driving the adoption.
Yeah.
Because like people are entering the space without understanding what they need to do. Because like if you look at the last bull run, a lot of people came for the financial incentive. Like they said like, okay, let me buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and they're all happy when they made money. But when they start losing, guess what? Like they left. So there's kind of like they like they don't you get to experience the technology, they don't experience the product, they just came for buying Dogecoin, and like a certain when the price goes down they eventually leave, right? I think that's a big problem. So that's why we are saying like, hey, when you come in, don't buy the asset directly. Maybe you want to show your friends like how much you know about the market, then go start playing a game. Start showing off like your trading skills, understand the market, because in our platform the learning kind of happens as a byproduct in the game. So you play more games, we start suggesting to you in kind of like say, hey, like play what is the difference between RSA and MACD, like how to use this strategy within your game. So we kind of start allowing users to learn about how to trade indirectly. So that's kind of how we have built the system intuitively, kind of the platform itself as a game, and like we have models that are running on the back where we kind of starting suggesting to users in the game and kind of improve it. So that's kind of one part, like our mission is to kind of drive the 3 adoption, and bring the users from Web 2. And our target audience is mostly users from Web 2, right? So we have users from close to 57 countries now. We currently have around 161K users, and we have done more than 700K transactions. So we will like number three on our line. So testnet, like we account for one third of transaction, etc. So that's kind of where we are. But probably I'll take one or 2 minutes to kind of explain the vision, what could be expected in the next phase of a product roadmap, right? Right now we're just being a game where you people play experience. But what we've realized, like we get a lot of data from the users. We collect about 60 touch points from users on what they are selecting, what's the token that's performing well, and like especially we identify or profile the kind of certain users, in terms of what they're selecting. We identify this as more like kind of top players, like say our top 5% of the players, the portfolio they're selecting is more valuable. We now know like what the token set that's going to perform next 4 hours, 8 hours, etc. And now we are going to build decentralized trading walls in a way people can just put in their money and automatically generate yield based on the trading through the data that we get from users. So right now it's just being a game. We kind of use data to build those strategies and models that could be deployed in a way that users can provide capital to it or liquidity to it. So it's kind of very excited. In the next phase, we're planning to launch something called a automated decentralized trading vault that would be powered by the data that we come in, and we have more than 2.5 million touch points of data points from users that really giving us a very broad overview of how exactly how what is the token set or the portfolio is going to perform. And these are very high frequency, because we know like high frequency as in like now like what the tokens that are going to perform in next 1 hour, 4 hours, etc. Yeah. Hope I didn't kind of confuse you with a lot of information.
No, that's brilliant. And I know your community will be soaking that up, because I think you've done a great job today of giving everybody an overview from outside of the space. But I think it's so important as well to keep your community up to speed with the kind of thing that they can expect in the future. And on that, are there any other teasers you can leave everyone with? But I would expect that you are locked down with NDAs and things. But is there anything you can share, a teaser to leave us with?
Yep, I think probably maybe this first time I'm like, opening up as in we are kind of launching a new category of game that's still not like informed to the community. Probably I can inform you, there'll be a new category launching next week. So of game that we are how to say, like the different categories of game. So stay tuned, guys. There's a new category that's launching on DeFi coins. So probably you guys can start playing and get excited about it too. But yeah, that's kind of something I can open up here. So stay tuned. Yeah.
Love it. And we started the podcast today talking about your origin story, what it was that put you on this path. And as we come full circle, we've reached the end of the podcast, I'm going to ask you to reflect now, look back. And is there a book that has inspired you, means something to you, or something you'd recommend that everyone would check out? And we'll add that to our Amazon wish list. But what would that book be and why?
Yeah, I think one book I'd say, there are a lot of books I'd say, but I've been following Naval Ravikant for a long time. My book, The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. I think that's kind of a book that I recommend a lot of entrepreneurs to start reading. Because especially like I think Naval has been in if you look at his Twitter, if you look at all his podcast, everything these days has been very practical, right? Because there's a lot of cliche. Like for example, I read one of the Twitter thread where you're saying networks in a sense are overrated, right? If you kind of build a product, eventually networks flying, right? Or like come in at later phase, because people spend so much time to kind of network to bring in the money, but they kind of fail building great products, right? But if you build great products, you build in users, and automatically VCs and money will flow in, right? I think that's kind of how his kind of a podcast and Twitter, I would recommend everybody to kind of read this or follow him in a way, very, yeah, especially people who are in the tech space. Yep.
Awesome. I'll add that to our Amazon wish list. And for anyone listening that just wants to maybe get started on Coin Fantasy, maybe learn more about it, even join your community, what's the best starting point for everything?
Yeah, I think you guys can now go to the link www.coinfantasy.io, and or if you want to go and play the game directly, it is play.coinfantasy.io, where you can directly go to dashboard. And our Twitter handle is coinfantasy.io. I think we kind of post regular updates on Twitter. Apart from that, we are there in a hell lot of social media, right? Facebook, Discord, Instagram, Reddit, Quora, etc. But we're definitely if you guys want to get started, Twitter is the right space to get started, and you can start playing on the link I mentioned. Yeah.
Well, I love chatting with you today about how Coin Fantasy is different from other play-to-earn model games, and also hearing more about new innovations and trends in the DeFi gaming industry, and how Coin Fantasy can help influence the financial and gaming sector, and those future plans and teasers you have there. A huge thank you for sharing that and your personal origin story. So the best of luck for the future, and thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for the opportunity. It was a pleasure. I think the questions you asked, kind of more relevant questions, that we want to tell to the community, as well as, in the blockchain, like Web3 space as a whole. But thanks for the opportunity. Pleasure to be here. Yeah. Thank you.
So after listening to that, how many of you are going to be signing up to Coin Fantasy and just giving it a try? If you do, I want to hear more from you. I want to hear if it helped you introduce you to the world of crypto. Is it a bridge that will encourage you to explore Web3 further? And how do you think gaming or a gamified manner can transform the financial sector, increase adoption? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram @NeilCHughes. Let me know your thoughts on this. We'll keep the conversation going. And I also invite you to come back tomorrow, because I've got another guest and another topic to explore with you. But until next time, don't be a stranger.